Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Collector Car Stories podcast on collectorcarcanada.ca. Today's a special occasion. It's the 70th anniversary of a car club out of Galt, Ontario called the Strokers. And we're taking advantage of the opportunity by catching some of the guests for talks on our podcast. So today we have Randy Goudeseune. And Randy is plugged into the collector car world in a number of ways. Randy, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Okay.
And I'll prompt you to fill in the blanks as we go.
Well, I've been a car guy for quite a while. I own a 2007 Mustang Convertible, which kind of opened up the doors to more car world and car.
And that's the car we're sitting in front of.
That's the car we're sitting in front of. Yeah.
And how long you had that, Randy?
Bought it in 2014.
Okay, so that's 10 years.
Yeah, I've had it 10 years, and it's reliable.
Yeah.
That's why I've got it.
Good.
And I've been an insurance broker for most of my life, and then got quite involved with Haggerty Insurance and other collector car insurances, but Haggerty was kind of the one that fit the best with me.
Sure.
And it fit best with the car collector customers that I had.
I think some of our viewers might have heard of Haggerty Insurance.
I think so.
Yes,
I think so. I probably sold a few of them a policy.
Yeah, a couple of them might recognize you. That's true.
So I got into the business in 73.
Okay.
And just retired last January.
So you did it in even 50 years.
I did a long time.
I can't believe you were an insurance broker at 3 years old.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Neither could my customers. And what else? Oh, I've arranged several car shows in my past. One of them was the Mustang Roundup in Delhi. And
that is happening today, isn't it, Randy?
Yeah.
That's something I have on my calendar every year. And in fact, my Mustang is not on camera, but it's about 50 feet away.
Yeah.
I haven't made it to that one because the Mustang crowd, some of our viewers will know, we did a Cars and Coffee with a Mustang theme last Sunday. There'll be some people today who attended that. But it's a good group, the Mustang group.
Yeah, the good group. Find. Yeah.
But to me, it seems like big news that you're not in Delhi today for the Mustang show,
well,
the Roundup.
I gave the show up to the Delhi BIA, so I started Cars and Coffee.
Okay, in Delhi as well?
Delhi at La Salette at the Ramblin' Road Brewery, where I always carry it.
Oh, right. Delhi, Ontario. You can look up the Ramblin' Road Brewery. We'll put a URL on the screen.
And those shows are 2.5 hours long. There's no prizes. It's just come gather, have a coffee, muffin, donut, and then after, enjoy Ramblin' Road after it's done.
And how often do you do those ones?
Twice a year.
Okay. And the next one, I think, is July 15th or so?
13th. And then after that, in August, I got a Trucks and Caffeine.
Okay. We'll get those on our events page on the website.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so through insurance, I took up.
Yes, I figured you were going to talk about this.
Took up working with the old autos.
Yeah. Old autos, a real mainstay in the collector car world in Southern Ontario, but I'll bet there's subscribers across the country.
It goes all the way across Canada, out into BC and all the way to Nova Scotia and New Brunswick and stuff.
And what's your role with old autos?
I'm a writer, photographer, do stories on collector cars, do stories on shows, shows like this one that we're doing today. And I'm always looking for an interesting story.
Randy was good enough to, he didn't find me. I think someone helped him find me when we launched the business back in 2021.
Yeah.
And Randy was good enough to write an article about this
startup
online collector car auction platform back in 2021.
That was good.
That is on our media page on the website on Collector Car Canada if anyone wants to see that. And it's funny, I have that you featured a picture. Well, Old Autos featured a picture of me with the Mustang I owned at the time.
Yeah.
And I'll let everyone in on a little secret. I loved my 1990 red Ford Mustang GT convertible, and I still love those cars. But back when I was starting out, when the business was starting out, it was tough to get sellers to really give me much credibility. I was the new kid. All I had done was pop a website up into cyberspace. And there was a week that came along where we didn't have anything to list.
I remember that.
And I put my Mustang on, hoping and expecting it not to sell. And sure enough, it did sell. So I had to give up my Mustang. It was great for the website, great for the business.
Yeah.
And the buyer actually has turned out to be another friend of the business.
Oh.
He sold a 1960 Buick LeSabre convertible with us
nice.
I guess about a month ago, last month. So yeah, when I want to feel melancholy about my 90 Mustang, I go back to that page and see it. So now I have I call it a middle-aged 97 Mustang. It's not a new one worth a lot of money, and old ones are worth lots of money, so I call mine middle-aged.
Yeah.
But yeah, Randy, a little more about old autos. So yeah, we run into each other at the odd show. You've always got your camera around your neck.
Always.
About how often do you contribute a story?
Every month I've got either 1 or 3 articles in.
Because they publish every 2 weeks.
Yes, every 2 weeks, 2 sections. So there's articles and stories about cars and their owners. Plus, in the back of the paper, there's the events page and a lot of advertising in there of upcoming shows.
Yeah,
and
that's one great thing of it. It's plugged into the Enthusiast.
Yes,
but with the promotion of the upcoming shows, it's a real sort of lifeline. We have our own events page, but it can't be as complete as Old Autos is.
And a lot of fellas think Old Autos is just about old cars. And it's not just about old cars. It's about muscle cars and newer cars and history, a lot of history.
History, yeah.
So like our good friend Mark Rogerson and I,
right,
we trade stories back and forth.
Okay.
I find out something from the ancient past.
Sure.
Share it with him, and he does the same with me, and then we got to keep this old car hobby going.
I'm with you.
And we got to keep remembering the history of this, because this is our Canadian history.
That's sharing that history and having that history passed down is part of what's going to perpetuate the hobby.
Yeah.
I mean, your son is here today.
Yeah.
You probably will not be the only one to bring a son.
I hope not. I always say bring a kid to a car show.
Yeah. Your son's probably got his eye on your Mustang, but
he's got his own.
You're not young enough for him to have real plans about it.
He's got his own. He doesn't need mine.
Okay, so again, with oldautos.ca, we'll pop that URL onto the video. We'll superimpose it down below.
Thank you.
And so what's your day-to-day outside of Old Autos in terms of collector cars?
Now that I'm retired?
Now that I'm lucky enough to be plugged into you on Facebook, it seems like you're going through someone's garage full of treasures almost every day.
That happens. That happens. I get people calling me up and say, hey, you want to do a story of my dad?
Okay.
Who was in the car hobby and stuff. So those are interesting, because you end up at someone's place and see their collection of memorabilia, or you get into an old shed like that over there and you find out all kinds of neat old stuff.
Well, I don't know if you've looked behind this barn here, Randy. We're not very close to the Johnny on the spot, so I was back behind the barn, if you know what I mean. There are a few forgotten cars back there.
There really?
Yeah,
I'll have to go take a look. I'll take my camera back there and take a look.
They're worth a look.
And I like the story of the travel of the car, how it got here, where it started, how it ended up in this man's collection.
Yeah.
I'm not, and I'll say it, I'm not real big on the nuts and bolts. Other guys cover that.
Right.
I mean, I do to an extent.
Yeah.
But I don't get into the left nut goes that way and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think they both go counterclockwise and clockwise. I'm just trying to figure out which one is tight and loosened. Lefty loosey?
Lefty loosey. Righty tighty.
And I notice you're wearing, so we've covered your shirt, you're wearing a hat of the Lake Erie Coast Cruisers, and I think we've got a mascot for the Lek Club as well.
We got the
so I'm a
LECC, I call him my mascot. I'm not sure if he's everybody else's mascot.
Well, I'm part of that club too,
yes,
so he's my mascot too. But tell us about that club a little bit. If you
it's a neat club. Bill McGuire kind of got it going a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It's loose, which is fine with me. It's not real structured with meetings, monthly meetings and dues and all that kind of stuff.
It's a bunch of people who get together on the weekend and cruise.
Like to cruise, and
Yeah.
that's what we like about it.
Right.
You don't have to join every cruise. You join the one you want to. You just have to show up to 2 events a year.
I was going to say, it's not that close to me geographically.
No.
And I know they expect you to go to 2 a year, so I might make sure I get to my 2 so I get asked back next year.
Come back. Yeah, there's always something going on.
Yeah,
But it's good. It's God, it's pretty strong too now. Like,
It is. Bill does a great job of engaging people in
Yes.
social media. So it's even if you miss last weekend's cruise, it's easy to keep up with
Yeah.
what the group was up to.
Yeah, and then I'll take photos for them and throw it on the site just like everybody else does, and it keeps everybody tied in. So
Yeah, good.
It's a great little club.
So you're driving a Mustang today, and I
Mm-hmm.
talked a little bit about my Mustang. What kind of cars catch your eye? If you were buying another collector car, what would be on your list? Tell us what you like, Randy.
Oh boy, it'd probably be a '68 fastback GT Mustang.
So you're a Mustang
I'm
guy.
a Mustang guy.
Yeah.
I like Fairlanes from the mid '60s.
68 fastback, that'd be a 390 engine.
390.
Yeah.
It's got to be. I have to paint it like the Bullet.
Right.
One of the best car movies ever out there.
Yeah. Steve McQueen.
What else?
You said a Fairlane?
Fairlane, 6, and that's because of my grandfather
Okay.
had a '67 Fairlane 2-door.
Oh, there's someone today with a
Yeah, I
couple
saw it
of
out there.
67 Fairlanes.
And he
yeah.
also had a Ranchero.
Right.
And the other funny thing is the orange 2728 Roadster pickup. It's an orange one right
Yeah.
out there. That was my first ride in a vehicle, and my parents had a truck.
Not in any car of all time, in any interesting collector car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those kind of things get you going, right?
Sure they do.
Yeah,
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I got my driver's license in 1986, and I love the late 80s and early 90s cars because that's when I was paying the most attention.
And I grew up in muscle car era.
Here's your tip, though. If you like Fairlanes, take a look behind the barn.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, great. So you own a Mustang, and that's probably not the only car you own.
Actually,
I think I know you have a particularly sensible car, and I was surprised when I heard you own it. But go on.
this is the only hot rod car I can say I own is
Yeah.
this 2007 Mustang.
Yeah.
The other cars are just sensible.
But you have a sensible daily.
Yeah,
Because
a Murano.
Yeah, it's a Murano, right?
Yeah.
Because I thought of you as a domestic only, but lots of people were open-minded. I have domestic, I have imported. Yeah.
That's like one of the best cars I've ever owned.
The Murano is?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
What a great car. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Mark Rogerson. We're going to take advantage of the time we have today to talk to him.
For sure.
But are there any other your car friends that stand out that are worth us hearing about?
Kenny Croker.
Yeah, tell us about Kenny.
Kenny's the photographer. Does a lot of photography on cars, and
Does he contribute to Olados?
he does more with Canadian hot rods.
Okay.
And I also write for Canadian hot
Well, you
rods
do, eh?
when I find what he's looking for.
Sure.
I just put a '68 GT Mustang Cobra in there, convertible, which will be coming out soon.
Okay.
But I've done, Challengers.
Sure.
Lots of neat stuff for.
Probably the original Challengers more than
Yes.
the modern stuff. Yeah.
It was actually a guy I went to high school with that bought us a TA in high school.
Oh wow.
And he still owns it.
Wow. So it's
And-
about 70?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yellow and black.
That's 54 years later, eh?
And still owns it, still runs it. And once a year we have the Cortland drags
Okay.
down in Cortland. And when we were teenagers, we had a Sunday of nothing but drag racing, illegal drag racing on his road. And then the next Sunday we went back and we got raided. So
You never returned to the scene of the crime.
50 years later, we did it again.
I love it. Is there any video or photographic evidence?
Photographs of
Yeah?
it. Yeah, I took a lot of photographs.
Oh, I'll
out
have to
there.
bug you for some photos.
Yeah.
We'll pop them in on
Yeah.
this video. That's worth.
And we're planning on doing one for 55 years.
I was going to say, don't go back the following week.
No.
I'm sure they went through the archive to know you'd be back 50 years later. Okay, that's good stuff. And I always like to ask this of people when they come on. Is there a crazy story or a wild story from your time in collector cars that you'd like to share? The one you just shared was kind of funny about going back to the scene of the crime a week later and getting busted.
Man, oh man, oh man, there's so many.
One thing that was interesting about how you and I run into each other, we keep in touch a little bit,
Yeah.
but I'll bet we run into each other randomly more often than we keep in touch. And I was at an event that was a car show type of event in Watkins Glen last September.
Yes.
And then sure enough, I saw you and your son, it was your son Chris,
Yeah.
wandering around taking pictures. And I was really surprised to see you at that car show. But you weren't even there for the car show. You were for the races.
We were there for the vintage races.
Yeah,
and my son Chris and my other son Chase, that was my birthday present.
Right.
So a weekend in Watkins
You had just
Glen.
turned 39, wasn't
Yeah, well, a couple weeks before
it?
that.
Yeah. 39 again.
It was a great time. And
So you
it
probably
was
spent the weekend there.
weekend,
Yeah.
and it was fortunate and lucky for me to run into you.
Yeah, it was.
there.
I still can't believe we didn't take a picture of
I
ourselves.
know. After I walked away, I go, shit. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. We're allowed talking like that on a podcast. Yeah, so like a racing weekend that stands out in your mind.
Oh,
Anything like that.
yeah, I mean, going to Sparta back in the old days, and I mean, going there and seeing John Force race at
I
Sparta.
don't even know about Sparta. Tell us a bit
Sparta?
about that. Yeah.
Oh, St. Thomas Dragway, Sparta.
Okay.
It's old.
Uh-huh.
It's might not stack up with some of the other ones that started out around here, like Cayuga, Kohler.
Sure.
But it was there, and
Flamborough.
it was there. Oh man, when I was going back there in the '60s, we had all kinds of.
You were probably going there before you had your driver's license.
I was going there with my dad's 6-cylinder stick shift pickup truck, but I wasn't.
Three on the tree.
Three on the tree. I wasn't going to race it, but
Okay.
I raced this one through Sparta.
Did you really? Yeah.
Yeah. Not bad for a V6. It did 93, 94 mile an hour.
In the quarter mile?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's not lazy.
No, it's
I'm
not.
impressed.
It's not lazy for that little V6.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
It's probably faster than my older V8 actually. I love the old cars, but there's no denying that the newer cars are.
Yeah, when you think
more technology at work.
when you think this has got 240 cubic inches, which was like the
Is that
246,
3.8 in liters.
4 liter,
Right.
and to think that the 246 in the Ford pickups and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and that's what we used to race.
Sure.
Would maybe do 71 or 72 mile an hour if you did a good
to the
power
quarter mile.
shift. Eh?
Yeah.
And to have this 4 liter 245 cubic inch do 92, 93, 94 consistent.
And it's a nice car, but it's not the top Mustang in 2007, is it?
No.
Not even close.
No.
I think that was the first year Shelby came back.
Yeah.
The GT500
Yeah.
back in 07.
Yeah. No.
So it looks the part, but yeah, that's a V6. And of course, you get the big V8s and the Mustang.
Great mileage.
Yeah. Well,
It's a cruiser.
consideration.
It's a cruiser.
You probably do more miles in it than most people with the cars they have today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
We just
interests
came
me.
off the Ontario Hot Rod Tour with this thing. So
Oh, right. We heard about
1,700
that.
clicks. It was fun.
We're going to feature a page on our What We've Seen area of the website about that because there's another member of LEC who'll be here today who took some pictures.
Yeah, I got lots of photos. So.
Maybe we'll call on you for some.
Yeah, we got lots of photos.
Okay. I think we've covered the areas I wanted to cover, Randy. So I
Good.
really appreciate you making time today. There's a lot going on today. We found a quiet area.
Good.
So I appreciate your missing out on some of the show today.
My son's covering it.
But thank you for coming. And it was neat to get your car into the shot
Oh,
too.
thank you
But
very much.
Thank you,
It was
Randy.
a pleasure.
All
It was
right.
a pleasure.